You talk every single day at work, at home, you make phone calls, you sit in meetings, you're on Zoom calls, but talking every day doesn't automatically make you a better communicator. As adults, we've been talking for years, and yet when you try to explain something, it doesn't always come out as clearly as it felt in your head. It's not that you're stuck for ideas, it's not that you don't know what to say, but when you start talking, your point stretches longer than it should. Your explanation starts to feel all over the place. And sometimes you finish speaking and you think, that's not exactly what I meant. And the really frustrating part of this is that you talk all the time, you're talking every day. So it's easy to start wondering, why hasn't this gotten better by now? What most people don't realize is this: talking every day doesn't automatically improve your communication. It actually strengthens whatever speaking habits you already have, whether they're good or bad. So when you start talking with intention, when you begin using everyday conversations as practice, something starts to shift. I'm not promising you an overnight change. I'm not talking about a miracle that happens in a week, but over time, your clarity, your confidence, and the way you show up when you speak will begin to improve. So in this video, I want to show you how the way you already talk every day can become a tool, a real tool to improve your communication 6 months from now. This isn't about forcing yourself to become louder, more extroverted, or someone you're not. This is about improving how you communicate and, by extension, how you show up in life. Whenever I meet people who know what they want to say, but it doesn't come out the way they want to, I genuinely connect with them, because that was me. Before I even realized I enjoyed talking, I loved writing. Anything that came into my mind, I would pen it down. And when I finally posted, people really resonated with what I shared. And because of that, I made an assumption. I assumed that since my thoughts were clear in my head and they were clear on paper, speaking wouldn't be difficult. So I never deliberately practiced speaking in front of people. I never developed my public speaking skills. I just assumed that it would translate when the time was right. And one day, a mentor reached out to me and he said, I have an event coming up for young people and I would like you to anchor it. At first, I was excited, but as the day grew closer, something started to feel off. I remember sitting down and asking myself, have you actually done this before? I started wondering, what if my thoughts don't come out the way I actually write? Speaking doesn't give you that luxury. There's no edit button. The moment you open your mouth, it's go time. And when I got to the stage and I started talking, I realized something very important. My ideas weren't bad. I told some stories, right? But they weren't as clear as I thought they would, at least not out loud. I realized that being good at expressing yourself in one format doesn't automatically translate into another. So talking and communicating clearly are not the same thing. And the mistake most people make after realizing this is thinking the solution is to talk more. Those are two very different things, and that's where we need to start. When I say intentional talking, I don't mean talking more, because honestly, most of us already do that. Intentional talking starts when you start realizing that every time you speak, you're practicing something, whether you're aware of it or not. Most of the time, we talk on autopilot. We speak just to get through the conversation. Sometimes it's just to respond. Sometimes it's to fill in the silence. But we're not paying attention to how we're being understood. And when you talk like that every single day, what you're actually doing is reinforcing the same patterns over and over again. So if you tend to ramble, you're practicing rambling. If you tend to over-explain, that's what you're doing. If you jump from one idea to the other without landing on a particular point, you're practicing that too. That's why talking every day doesn't automatically make you a better communicator. It just makes you very good at your current habits. Now, intentional talking is when you slow down to process what you're saying, even if it's just a little bit. It's when you start to notice how you speak, not just what you're saying. Communication isn't just about expressing yourself well. It's also about creating enough space for the other person to follow you, to enjoy the conversation, to leave with something meaningful. Intentional talking is not about perfection. It's about awareness. It's about catching yourself mid-sentence and asking, what was my main point here? It's about allowing yourself to pause instead of filling every silence. It's about being okay with saying less if that means that you would actually become clearer. And when you do this consistently, not just when you're presenting on stage or when you're recording a video, but in everyday conversations, that's when your communication starts to change. And honestly, it doesn't have to be dramatic. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a gradual process, but it's going to be very real and lasting. And you don't need to remember all of this. Just notice what stands out for you as we get through this conversation. So let me slow this down and make it practical, because this is where most people get stuck. You don't need to change everything everything at once. You just need to know what to focus on first. My goal at the end of this video is simple, that you start applying these practices from the very next conversation you have right after watching this. The good thing about this is that you don't need extra time for this. You don't need to schedule a personal time on your calendar. You don't need practice sessions. You don't need to rehearse any speeches every day. You're already talking. We're just going to use that talking as a tool to get better. So the first practice I'm going to tell you is to listen to yourself when you speak. You'd be surprised how much you say every day without actually thinking about it. A lot of us talk on autopilot mode. We are having conversations we're not really present in. What we're doing here is actually noticing patterns that we've built over the years so that we can tweak them. So as you're talking, begin to notice things like how long it's taking you to get to your point, whether you're repeating the same word or similar words over and over, whether you're also repeating the same idea, whether you've already said what you needed to say and you're still talking. Because sometimes the most powerful moment is when you realize, wait, I've already made my point. I don't need to keep talking. And instead of adding more, you just stop. The moment you stop, that's actually the clarity that you've been looking for. The second practice is learning how to pause on purpose. Pausing is one of the greatest gifts in communication. You use it to think through your points, you use it to add weight to your words, you even use it to break your speech so that you don't rush yourself, right? The problem is a lot of people are afraid of silence. The moment there's a pause, they rush to fill it in. Pausing gives your thoughts time to catch up with your words. It gives the other person time to process what you've already said. At first, it might feel slightly uncomfortable, especially if you're a fast talker. You might start to feel like you're awkward or slow, but most of the time, the other person listening to you doesn't experience this at all. What they're seeing is a confident speaker, a thoughtful person, and as someone who is also present and comfortable with their pace. Third practice is using conversations as feedback. One of the biggest contributors to growth is learning how to receive feedback, whether it's from yourself or from other people. So instead of assuming that you were clear, start observing the response you get. Are people asking you to repeat yourself? Do they look confused? Do they interrupt you often? Or do they actually enjoy and listen to you speak? Communication gives you feedback instantly. The real question is, are you willing to receive it? So feedback doesn't mean that you're criticizing yourself. It's just information that you're going to use to get better. The last practice, and this one is the most powerful, is preparing for small moments. Most people only prepare for big things. You're having a big speech, a presentation, an interview. But intentional communicators prepare for everyday moments. Whether it's before a random meeting, you need to ask yourself, what point do I want to make at this meeting? If it's a conversation, ask, what am I actually trying to say here? I once listened to this professor on Mel Robbins' podcast who said that she prepared for even casual conversations. If she was going out, she would have 4 or 5 topics, and her friends actually thought that she was just very good at conversations. But it wasn't magic. She was prepared. So when you do this consistently, you train your mind to organize your thoughts before they come out, not after. So if you actually decide to practice this consistently, here's how I want you to think about the next 6 months. For the first month, we're going to call this our awareness month. In this month, your focus is not improvement, it's awareness. This is when you simply start noticing how you speak. You begin to pay attention to how long it takes for you to get to your point. And this is very important because you're not trying to fix anything yet. A lot of people sabotage their growth by trying to correct everything at the same time, and that can be exhausting even for your brain. So in the first month, you're just listening, you're observing, you're becoming more present in conversations. Think of this as hearing your own voice for the very first time. Enjoy it. Learn your communication style. At the end of every week, take simple notes, nothing complicated. I enjoy this. I speak like this. You're just noticing. We're going to use that in the next month. In the second month, your focus starts to shift slightly. This is where you start slowing down. You allow yourself to pause. You let silence exist without feeling awkward. You stop rushing to fill in every gap in conversations. If you talk fast, you might just bring it down a notch. This is the month where you're going to allow your thoughts catch up with your words. So by the third month, something interesting starts to happen. This is usually the month where things start to feel different. You begin to prioritize clarity over how much you say. This is where you start asking yourself questions like, what's my point? What am I trying to say? Have I already said it? You begin to notice that saying less often resonates more with others than saying more. This is also that month where you start noticing subtle changes with how people respond to you. They might not be able to explain it, but you become easier to follow. People understand you better. By the fourth month, you become more comfortable with feedback. Sometimes it's the look on someone's face, sometimes it's verbal. And the biggest shift here is this. Feedback no longer feels personal. You've already given yourself that. You've been giving yourself feedback from month one. At this stage, feedback becomes useful, not emotional. This is where your quiet confidence starts to grow. By month 5, we're talking about consistency without effort. You become intentional. It becomes natural. You're not thinking as hard about it anymore. You can pause without people forcing you. You land your points more easily. You listen better without trying. This is when people might start saying things like, oh, you explain things really well. She has a good way with articulating her words. I like the way you communicate. And most of the time, you won't even realize how much you've changed because it feels normal to you now. By the 6th month, this is no longer practice. It's just how you speak. Your thoughts are more organized. Your confidence isn't performative. It's now grounded. It's who you are. And the interesting part about this is that you didn't need to do anything dramatic like becoming more extroverted, louder, or somebody you're not. You simply took what you were already doing, talking every day, and turned it into training. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this. You don't need to talk more to become a better communicator. You just need to talk with intention. You're already speaking every single day, whether it's in conversations, at work, with people you care about. And if you start using those everyday moments as practice, listening to yourself, pausing on purpose, paying attention to feedback, and preparing even for those small conversations, I'm telling you, your communication will change. And this is not about being perfect. Sometimes you're still going to ramble, you're still going to stutter, you're still going to lose your train of thought, you're still going to over-explain on some days, but that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're learning and you're human. Communication is a skill, and like every skill, it gets better with consistent, intentional practice. Once you learn the foundations, you don't lose them. You just need to keep using them. So if you're willing to give yourself 6 months, not of pressure, not of perfection, but of awareness and consistency, your communication will improve. Now, if you'd like to go on a 30-day challenge to kickstart this, just to notice your habits, especially when you watch yourself back, I have a free guide I can send to you. You can head over to my Instagram at Talk with Victoria and send me the words free guide, and I'll send it to you over there. The link is also in the description. I just started a new Instagram page, so it might look a little bit off, but I'll share communication tips there daily. So if you're into that, feel free to connect with me there. Now, if this video resonated with you, I'd love to know, what is one communication goal you're working on this year? Let me know in the comments. You can also give this video a thumbs up so that it can reach more people, share it with someone who needs it. And if you want to keep going, watch the next video. It will help you build on what we talked about today. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you over there.